Welcome to the future of Israel and the Jewish people. I'm Frank Caporale, your host for tonight. We're studying the book of Exodus. We were ending up at Exodus 25, verse 31 to 40. If you're following us in your Hebrew Bibles, if you're a Gentile, it's called the Old Testament, but that doesn't mean it's obsolete. A lot to be learned from it. And if you're a Muslim or someone who is not a religious person, download an app on your phone free of charge and follow us along. The book of Exodus. This is the Jewish people being able to set up their kingdom. But before they can set up their kingdom and their nation, they must set up their religious beliefs and their belief system and the instructions that God gave them, not only for the completion of the temple and all of the other things. At that time, it was the tabernacle, not the temple. They need to really pay attention, and they do. They follow this part to a T. But we'll see later that although they can follow this part, the physical part, the spiritual part is much harder, because you must rely on God to help you get over selfish human nature. Well, the planting of the lampstand. Now this is Exodus 25, okay? 31 through 40. So we have the judgment seat, which obviously represents God the Father. We have the table being built that's going to hold the bread on, the bread of life. And then we're going to have the lampstand, which is going to represent the Spirit of God that illuminates light over darkness. Okay? So here we go. We're into 31 of chapter 25, if you're following. Make a lampstand of pure hammered gold. Make the entire lampstand with its decorations of one piece. The base, the center stem, the lamp cups, the buds, and the petals. Make it with 6 branches. Okay? You notice this has 7, okay? But this is a menorah, and this represents Hanukkah. This is a different stand. This is going to be run out of oil, not out of candles, okay? This is the beginning of what's being shown as 6 branches coming out from the center stem, 3 on each side. Each of the 6 branches will be 3 lamp cups shaped like an olive bud, complete with buds and petals. So it's really a decorated piece, okay? God doesn't make anything that's not beautiful, and that includes you. And if you don't think you're very attractive, maybe you have the greatest heart in the world, and that's more important. That's really beauty, okay? The craft, the center stem, and the lampstand with 4 lamp cups, shaped like an almond bud, complete with buds and petals. They will also be an almond bud beneath each petal of branch, where the 6 branches extend from the center stem. This is a very nice piece. The almond buds and the branches must all be of one piece with the center stem, and they must be hammered from pure gold. So this is not something we make here and then attach. No, it's all one piece, okay? They make this 7 lamps from the lampstand and set them so they reflect their light forward, okay? There's a part in the scriptures that says, your word is a lamp unto my feet. It's the direction you're going to go to. He's interested in illuminating your future, not your past. If you're suffering from guilt, give it over to God. Confess it and be forgiven for it. Don't dwell on it. The lamps, cups, and tray must also be made of pure gold. You will need 75 pounds of pure gold for the lampstand and its accessories. Now remember, the Levites are going to carry this for 40 years throughout the desert, 75-pound piece. So probably 4 men are going to carry it, and that's going to be, you know, about 20 pounds per man. And I don't know how far they walked every day, 3 or 4 miles, but they were committed and dedicated. Be sure that you make everything according to the pattern I showed you here on the mountain. So Moses actually saw it, wrote it down, and then came down the mountain. And then later on, you're going to see that God actually picks the men that he gifted to do this. So you don't have to scratch your head and say, well, where am I going to find somebody who knows how to do this? God's going to appoint the men. And I believe they're going to be from the tribe of Judah. So, all right, we're in 26. If you're following along, verse 1. This goes out to verse 37. It's a fairly short chapter. But now we're starting with some more plans. Make the tabernacle from 10 curtains of fine woven linen. Decorate the curtains with purple, blue, purple, and scarlet threads, and with skillful embroidery. So he's going to start spelling out to them this tremendous tent they're making. The 10 curtains must be extended exactly the same size, 42 feet by 6 feet. If you want to do the math and draw a sketch of this, go ahead. You'll see it's a big tent. Okay? Join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain, and then join the other 5 into a second long curtain. Then loop of blue thong along the edges of the long curtain in each set. The 5 loops along the edge of one curtain are to match the 50 loops along the edge of the other one. Then make 50 gold clamps and fasten them along the curtain together with the clamps. In this way, the tabernacle will be made of one continuous piece. So everything is broken down to bite size to be able to assembly and disassemble, carry. But when they put it all together, it's a big place. And this isn't a place where you go into worship, like a synagogue or a church or a temple. This is where the priest brings in the sacred things that need to be burned. Not the burnt offerings and the animal sacrifices, but the incense. The incense always represents prayer going up to God. The showbread, which is represent the 12 tribes of Israel. The light that lightens up this tent by the oil in the 7 lanterns, the 6 lanterns. And then obviously the covenant, the mercy seat. Make 11 curtains of goat hairs clothes to serve as a tent cover of the tabernacle. Now, I guess this goat hair must have been waterproof since, you know, it's a different type of material he's using. These 11 curtains must be exactly the same size, 45 feet long and 6 feet wide. Can you imagine? Okay? Join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain, and join to the 6 in the second long curtain. Allows 3 feet of material for the second set of curtains to hang over the front. So he had sort of a flap in the front. This is a beautiful thing if you've ever seen models of pieces of artwork of this. And you got to realize that, you know, there are other nations around them that are probably going to see what they're doing and be astonished by how they do it. Okay? Well, let's go on to verse 10. Make 50 loops for one edge of each of the long curtains. Then make 50 brass clamps and fasten the loops to the long curtains with the clamps. In this way, the tent cover will be made of one continuous piece. The remaining 3 feet of this tent cover will be left to hang over the back of the tabernacle. Okay? He's not leaving anything up to Moses to decide. Allow 18 inches of the remaining material to hang down over each side of the tabernacle to completely cover it. Remember, desert don't have much rain, but they get a lot of wind and a lot of sand blowing around, okay? Complete the tent covered with a protective layer of tan ram skins and a layer of fine goat skin leather. From the framework of the tabernacle, construct frames, again, of Acacia wood, okay? Very strong wood, by the way. Each frame must be 15 feet long, 27 inches wide, with 2 pegs under each frame. Make all the frames identical, okay? Make 20 of these frames to support the curtains on the south side of the tabernacle. Also make 40 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame, with pegs fitting securely into the bases. You know, you think we're very constructive about the way we make things today. God pointed out this stuff before we could even imagine thinking of stuff like this. For the north side of the tabernacle, make another 20 frames with these 40 silver bases, 2 bases under each one. Make 6 frames for the rear, the west side of the tabernacle, along with 2 additional frames to reinforce the rear corners of the tabernacle. These corner frames will be matched at the bottom and fitted attached to the top with a single ring forming a single corner unit, making both of these corners units the same way. So they will be 8 frames at the rear of the tabernacle, set in 16 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame. Years ago, you would buy children an erector set, and they would sit down and build all kinds of stuff on the living room floor. Well, this is some erector set. Excuse me. Make crossbars of Acacia wood to link the frames. 5 crossbars for the north side of the tabernacle. Excuse me. 5 for the south side. Also make 5 crossbars for the rear of the tabernacle, which will face the west. Now the entrance was on the east side. And you know, when they created the Temple Mount, the temple faced east. And the Golden Gate, where the Messiah was supposed to come through, which the Arabs have blocked up and planted a cemetery in it, was the Golden Gate, which is the east gate. Their theory is that a Jewish rabbi, which the Messiah would be, would not walk through a cemetery. Well, they don't know the Messiah. He can walk through walls. So, here we go. Set up the tabernacle according to the pattern you were shown on the mountain. For the inside of the tabernacle, make a special curtain of fine linen, decorated with blue, purple, and scarlet threads, with the skillful embroidery, cherubims. Scarlet always comes up. And throughout the Old Testament, there's a scarlet ribbon that seems to follow the lineage of the Messiah. And even Rahab, who is in the lineage of David. She was, I believe, great-grandmother of King David. When she was in the fortress of Jericho and she helped the spies, they told her to take this scarlet rope or ribbon that they escaped out the window in and lean it out the window so they knew where her house was. So when the city came down, her and her family would be protected for the favor that she did to the spies. She believed that God was with the Israelites and there was no way they weren't going to be successful against a fortified city that had walls as high as 40 feet high. Amazing how God has allowed her to have that kind of faith. So he's decorating these materials. Hang this curtain on a gold hook and attach the 4 posts of the Arcadia wood. Overlay the posts with gold and set them in 4 silver bases. Hang the inner curtain from clamps and put the Ark of the Covenant in the room behind it. So here is the Ark of the Covenant. Here is the curtain. Okay? We're getting into the holiest holy. Okay? This curtain will separate the holy place from the holiest of holy. So in other words, this is the place for the priest, this is the place for me. But I have a curtain between us. Okay? Then put the Ark of the Covenant, the place of atonement, on the top of the Ark of the Covenant inside the most holy. Place the tablets outside the table outside the inner curtain on the north side of the tabernacle, and place the lampstand across from on the south side. So he's saying that the south side is going to have the lamp, the table of bread is here, the holiest holy is here, and this is the curtain. Right here in front of this curtain is going to be the altar of incense. Very important. Make another curtain for the entrance of the sanctuary, the sacred tent, excuse me. Make it of fine woven linen, embroidered and in hand design with blue, purple, and scarlet. Craft 5 posts with Arcadia wood, overlaid with pure gold, and hang the curtain from them with the gold hooks. Cast 5 brass bases for the posts. Now, brass is stronger than silver and gold, and so in some cases you're going to see that, like when they make the altar where fire is going to be used, they use brass because, you know, silver would melt closer to like lead. Same with gold, and we wouldn't want to do that, but that's one thing. But you notice when we get close to the Holy of Holies, it becomes gold rather than silver. Silver indicates salvation, gold indicates royalty. So that's it. So much for that. We're in Exodus 27, 1 through 8. Plan for the altar of burnt offerings. Well, I guess we're going to get into using some brass here now. Use Arcadia wood and construct a square altar, 7.5 feet wide by 7.5 feet long and 4.5 feet high. Make horns for each of the 4 corners so that the horns and the altar are all one piece. Overlay the altar with brass. So the base is wood apparently, but it's overlaid with brass. And I guess maybe it's easier to shape that way. Make an ash bucket, a shovel, a basin, a meat fork, and a fire pan, all of brass. Make a brass grate for it and attach the 4 brass rings on its 4 corners. Now remember, they're going to carry this also. Install the grate halfway down the side of the altar under the legs for carrying the altar. Make poles from Arcadia wood and cover them with brass. Insert the poles through the rings on two sides of the altar. The altar must be hollow, made from planks. Build it just as you were shown on the mountain. You can understand why Moses was up there 40 days and 40 nights and got all this instructions. He's going to get into now the priest's clothes, but before he does that, he's going to talk about the place of the courtyard. Remember that people are going to come here in droves because as they need forgiveness, or they want to give a peace offering, or they want to give a friendship offering, or a fellowship offering, or a peace offering, they're going to come to this courtyard. And, later on when they build a temple, they're going to separate the Holy of Holies. There's going to be a courtyard for men, and there's going to be a courtyard for women and Gentiles, and there's a lot of instructions. So did they come up with this? No. God came up with it. They're following it. That's really what's important. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So, but it's also a foreshadow of what God's going to do in the future. So 27, 9 through 19. And it says, then make a courtyard for the tabernacle, enclosed with curtains, made of fine woven linen. On the south side, set up and make curtains 150 feet long. If you were in New York City and you owned a building lot, it's 100 feet. So this is 150 feet. Okay? Pretty wide, pretty long. They will be held up by 12 poles, set securely in 12 brass bases. Hang the curtain with silver hooks and rings. Make the curtain the same on the north, 150 feet of curtain held up by 12 posts, set securely in brass bases. You notice the 150 is one thing I can't explain, but I can see that the 12 posts represent, again, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? The curtain on the west side end of the courtyard will be 75 feet long, which is half the length, right? Which is always a fair assumption. It becomes a rectangle, okay? Supported by 10 posts, set up in 10 bases. Each end of the courtyard, the front will also be 75 feet long. The courtyard enters will be on the east side end, flapped by 2 curtains. The curtains on the right side will be 22.5 feet long, supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. The curtain on the left side will be also 22.5 feet long, supported by 3 posts set in 3 bases. Talk about exact. For the entrance of the courtyard, make a curtain that is 30 feet long. Make it from fine woven linen and decorate it with beautiful embroidery in purple, blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Support it with 4 posts, each securely set in its own base. All the posts around the courtyard must have silver rings and hooks and brass bases. So the entire courtyard will be 150 feet long, 70 feet wide, with curtain. The curtain wall will be 7.5 feet high. Now, for me, that's a little low, but it's livable. Old houses in the 16th and 17th century normally were about 7.5 feet high. Maybe it was to conserve energy. Maybe it was that they weren't very tall at the time. Make from fine woven linen. The base for the pole will be of brass. All the articles used in the ritual of the tabernacle, including all the tent pegs used to support the tabernacle in the courtyard must be made of brass. So, how would you like to build this? Well, let me tell you. It's not by accident. It's by instructions. I wonder what God is really telling you to build. I wonder what God is really telling you is your destiny. Is it to write a great book? Is it to compose a great musical piece? Is it to preach a great sermon? Is it to support a good cause? Is it to cure a dreadful disease? God wants to do something precisely with your life. And the only way you're going to find that out is in prayer. And He's going to give you the desire of your heart. So the things that are your interest, you need to pursue. There are things that you're interested in, you need to pursue them. There are things you don't like to do, you need to avoid probably, so you can reach your destiny. So please pray about it and be here with us next week. I know this can seem a little boring. I don't want to skip over it. I want to point out how exact God is on everything. And He really is exact about why He created you. He created you for good works. Please ask Him what He has for you. Because if you do what you want to do, you'll get in trouble. You'll make a lot of emotional decisions, and they'll be probably wrong. You're not supposed to make decisions with your emotions, but with your mind. You do what other people want you to do, and you'll be miserable. And if you do what you were created to do, you'll be at peace. You'll be able to work 60 hours a day and come home or a week and be satisfied. Man gets most of his fulfillment, including women, from their accomplishments. And our work is not a curse, it's a blessing. Adam and Eve was given work to do before they ever sinned. So don't think that it's punishment. No. When someone delegates responsibility, they're really trusting you to get it done. So, have a good day.